Local Decision 2022, Election Day, of course, is coming up November 8th. And joining us now in studio here on North Metro Television is Dick Swanson, running for City Council Ward 1 in Blaine. Dick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
You've been on the council for 26 years, and now you've been off for a couple.
Yep.
So this is a special election. Why do you want to go back and join the crew on the council again?
Well, when it was realized that with this election we could have a majority of the council being brand new councilmen with no experience, some people came to me and asked me to run for the 2-year term just to bring some experience back onto the council, which is why I'm running for the 2-year rather than the 4-year, because all I want to do is help the new people get understanding of how the city works, how to deal with staff, and keep some of the chaos down. What would happen if you have too many new people at one time? New blood is good, but too much new blood is chaos.
So what kind of wisdom can you give these newbies, and how can you prop them up?
Well, first of all, one councilman can do nothing. You have to make alliances. You have to have 4 or 5 councilmen to accomplish anything. Too many people come on, think that they can just turn the world around by themselves, and they can't. It requires effort and team building to accomplish anything on a council. The other thing is Blaine has a very, very complicated financial situation, which I can help explain to people, and some of the special funds that have special controls around them. So those are just a couple of the things that I can bring that nobody else can bring at this point.
When you started on the council, how long did it take for you to figure out, hey, I can't reinvent the wheel by myself, that I need to have bridge building with the other council members?
Well, when I came on, there were 3 of us who came out at one time, and we were kind of allied already at that point. So, but we got knocked down quite a bit in that first year by the older council people, and I think we drove the city manager crazy in trying to change things. So it took probably 2.5 years before we really were at the point where we were fully productive with the older councilmen who were there.
What's good about Blaine in 2022?
Well, first of all, it's a growing community, which means obviously people want to live here, which I think my 26 years on the council helped to do that. We have the lowest tax rate of any major city in Anoka County. We also provide a lot better service than most of the other cities in Anoka County do. So that's something that's good. And we're a AAA bond rating, which is also unique in Anoka County. So there's a lot of good things. We've got a great trail system, which draws people. We've got a good park system. We have the National Sports Center, which isn't really city, but it adds to the amenities that are existing in the city. So.
The growth really has been explosive in Blaine. Already over 70,000 residents, could get up to 100K in the coming years. Do we need to make sure that Blaine doesn't grow too fast? How do you find that balance?
Well, up to now, we've been growing according to a plan. The area that's growing right now is the northeast quadrant, and there is a growth plan that was put together 10 years ago for that quadrant to grow. So that's under control, I think, with water and sewer and everything has to be in place before the growth can happen. One thing where we're growing that wasn't necessarily expected is the number of apartment complexes, which is something I'm a little concerned about as where they're going and how many are coming together. I'm pro-apartments, they're affordable living, but at the same point, we have to make certain that they get integrated into the community and not just placed on top of the community. If we have too many in one location, you're placing them on top, they become a culture unto themselves, not part of the neighborhood, and that can be something we do not want.
So instead of a cluster of apartments, you want it spread out?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
As we all know, the elephant in the room is Minnesota State Highway 65.
Right.
Is that thing ever going to get done?
Yes. And they've got the plan. MnDOT's approved the basic plan, which is a major step. Now, I retired. I was finance director for MnDOT before I retired. So to get MnDOT to agree to a plan means that eventually your project will happen. It becomes a question of funding. Now, this last legislature, they had $9 million in the bonding bill. I think we need $20 million left to fund the project. That $9 million, unfortunately, got left on the table when the legislature didn't pass the bonding bill. I'm hoping that when they come back this session, that bonding bill will be reactivated and maybe even added to and passed. That'll get us down to 11 million. 11 million on a 100 million plus project is in MnDOT terms, nothing.
Yeah.
In real terms, it's
Yeah.
significant, but in MnDOT terms, it's nothing. So that project will be done. One of the big concerns right now is where the frontage road from 99th to 109th is going to go. That's something that has to be worked out with the existing landowners and get MnDOT approval. So that's probably the next step that has to be done. But that project will be done. It may not be done in 2024 like we had hoped, but it will be done.
So the frustrated commuter who is tired of gridlock and seeing the brake lights and these long delays is saying, well, this should have been done yesterday. But with your MnDOT background, tell us how difficult this is to happen from the MnDOT perspective, because it just doesn't happen overnight, does it?
No, first of all, Highway 65 was one of the lower priority roads in the state, because MnDOT looks at where's the traffic, where's the accidents, and it's taken a while for 65. While it's been hard on the commuters, it's taken a while for that road to hit the level where it's viewed as a red road by MnDOT.
To get on their radar.
Right. Then you have to get the planning money to do the original plan. And then after you get planning money, then you have to get the money to cover the primarily needs and how they can fit together. And that's the bicycle, pedestrians,
Yeah.
car, all that has to be put together in the plan. Then you get in the queen to get actually funded for the project. So in the legislature, you have to get involved, and it helps if you get a coalition put together of all the cities on the road, which they did put together for this project. If you don't have a coalition, your odds of getting funded becomes fairly low.
Is it accurate to say things on 65 will get worse before they get better? Because when we finally see the bulldozers and the construction crews and it becomes a cone zone and you see the orange barrels and all that, that's going to still gum things up for a while, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, a lot of the traffic on Blaine is on 65 is not Blaine traffic. It's coming from Cambridge, it's coming from North, and those areas are growing, and they're just going to keep throwing more traffic onto 65. So yes, traffic is going to get worse in 65. And you got people who just flat out don't follow the speeding laws or the red lights. I almost got wiped out the other day when I was crossing the road that somebody came shooting by at 90 against a red light. So it's
When
So
that thing goes green, you probably should wait a couple seconds, right?
yes.
Yeah. You have said you'd like to keep Blaine as a low-tax, high-service city. How can you do that?
Basically by being effective, by keeping our costs as low as we can while providing good service, which means for the police department, we're in the 50th percentile as far as salary, but we give our people good equipment, we give them good working conditions, and we have to do that across the board. If you let your people know that they're being appreciated, they work hard and they give you good service. And 75% of our budget is people. So if you can keep your people working effectively, that helps you to keep the tax down. Plus, by having the AAA bond rating, we can bond cheaper, which help us get the capital projects done at a lower cost than a lot of other communities.
The demographics in Blaine is slowly changing. It's becoming more diverse.
Yep.
Is this a city in your eyes that is welcoming to everybody?
I considered it welcoming to everybody. As I'm door knocking and talking to some of the newer arrivals, particularly some of the Asian community, they seem to be having some problems in being accepted in the community, which is unfortunate. And after the election's over, win or lose, I'm going to go back and talk to some of the Asian community and see what some of their issues are and what can be done to help them.
Blaine's also a tourism hub in Minnesota.
Right.
You mentioned the National Sports Center, and you've got the 3M Open every July out at TPC. And there's a lot of reasons to come here from a sports perspective. Can you grow that?
Well, we're working with the tourism board to help bring more things in. The tourism board is fostering some tournaments in various kinds, some rugby tournaments and things. So the sports that we're big in, probably it's hard to expand, but there's hundreds of different sports that can be brought in and expanded. And that's where the growth would be in the sporting area.
The National Sports Center has been a jewel. You've got the the World Cup soccer that comes, the USA Cup every year. At what point do you maybe look at renovations or pumping in some more money to that facility to keep it upgraded?
The thing to remember is that's not a city facility.
Okay.
It is a state facility. And the legislature is the ones that should be doing that. Cities put some money into it, but we are not responsible. We can't afford to be responsible for it. We've paved, along with the county, we've paved some parking lots and we put a road in, but basically the sports center is the legislative responsibility. In that regard, we can work with the sports center as far as lobbying, getting legislators to understand the needs and why it's important to keep that facility functioning and bringing the people into the state, because a lot of what people who are there, particularly for the big tournaments, are out of state. So that's money that wouldn't be coming into
Yes.
Minnesota and paying sales tax if it wasn't there.
Do you think the National Sports Center needs some upgrades? I know that typically stadiums and arenas, they age in dog years. I mean,
Yep.
you blink and all of a sudden a team wants a new one.
Yeah. The whole facility has needs, and I'm not familiar with the current list of needs. You'd have to be deeply involved to understand that. But yes, there's a lot of needs out there, a lot of little things that people don't understand. New equipment to take care of the fields, better maintenance building, some of those things, better roofing on some parts, maybe even some upgrade into solar panels or et cetera to bring it more up to date.
So if you get elected back to the city council in this special election, what would be your top 2 or 3 priorities?
Well, and this one's going to seem strange, but while I've been off the council, I've come to realize that the city doesn't do a really good job of communicating with the citizens. So that would probably be my #1 priority, which if you'd asked me 3 years ago, it wouldn't have been. But now having been off the council and door knocking and talking to people, that is, I might even consider trying to bring back the neighborhood meetings that we had at one point, just to be out there so people can see and understand us. So the next priority probably would be, working to keep taxes, and then Northtown.
Okay. You have any ideas for Northtown? Everybody seems to complain about it, but what can we do about it?
Northtown is a massive jigsaw puzzle. It's not just Blaine. It's Coon Rapids. They have a failing commercial center right across the street, which is really part of the Northtown area. It's Spring Lake Park. Their residents are right next to it, so they're the most deeply impacted on day-to-day basis. It's all the owners of the different commercial areas around it. So it's a big jigsaw puzzle. And then you get the city and the city of Coon Rapids too involved. Plus I know the city has put together a master plan using the same people that worked down at Rosedale doing their master plan. Some of it, it's going to have to be, unfortunately, some of it's going to have to be residential, but so it's some kind of a apartment or townhouse, which if you look at Southdale and some of the other deals, they've taken some of their unused parking and put it into housing. And when you look at all the commercial area, we have a huge amount of asphalt there that isn't being utilized, which should be turned into some kind of green usage. And you know, plus probably people consider that it's a crime hub, which it really isn't. But what people don't understand is Northtown and the area around it is one of the biggest tax revenue producers for the city of Blaine.
Okay.
It can't fail. If it fails, everybody else's property tax is going to go up tremendously. So we have to make Northtown succeed.
So there's incentive to solve the jigsaw puzzle
Yes.
known as Northtown. Hey, listen, Dick, great to talk to you. Good luck in the election.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yep, Dick Swanson, Blaine City Council, running in Ward 1, special election. This is Local Decision 2022.